With well over 100 days spent out in the backcountry this year, I've had ample opportunity to use and test a bunch of different pieces of gear that I've shared here on the channel with you. But today I want to talk about my absolute favorite pieces of gear that I've used in 2024, the items that have just performed really well, enhanced my experience, and just been those pieces of gear that are like, these are awesome. Now, it's important for me to note that this video is not sponsored by any of the brands here that I'm talking about. No money was exchanged to make this video whatsoever. These are just pieces of gear that I genuinely enjoy and have had a really good experience with after many days out in the backcountry with them. Now, the one piece of gear that I've probably talked about more than any other item on my channel this year is this pot here, the Fire Maple Petrol G3 heat exchanger pot. You're probably like, Devin, stop talking about the petrol pot. We get it. It's amazing.
Shut up about the sun. Shut up about the sun!
But let me just quickly explain why I think it is one of the best pieces of gear that's come out in 2024. This is a really smart design that I think a lot of people have been looking for, and finally somebody put together a small capacity heat exchanger aluminum pot. This is 600 milliliters in capacity, and very often your heat exchanger pots that you see are in the 1 liter or larger capacity, which is too big in my opinion for one person out on a backpacking trip. The 600 milliliter capacity of this makes it the perfect size for one person. It makes it lighter weight, and it is a really good performing pot. Now, it is aluminum, so it's going to be heavier than a titanium pot, but I think that doesn't really matter for the vast majority of people. The handle of the pot is really good. It is better in its stability than grabbing those like folding double handles that you see on a lot of pots, and it sticks out further so it doesn't get hot and you have to use like a piece of cloth or something to then pour out of the pot for pouring into your freeze-dried meals and such. Then the heat exchanger on the bottom is also really smartly designed. Now, this has been talked about ad nauseum at this point, but you have 3 little cutouts on the bottom of the pot which allow for you to pair a stove that has pot supports that are at a 120-degree angle. The biggest benefit of this is you get the performance of the heat exchanger, but it also creates way better fuel efficiency with the stove because you get better wind performance from this, because now the head of the burner, at least in this case with the Green Peak canister stove, which I have paired for the vast majority of my trips at this point with this pot, putting that on there makes it very efficient in wind performance and getting quick boil times. Now, boiling water doesn't need to be a Formula One race when it comes to your time outside, but it is nice to have something that is very efficient. I just freaking love this thing. And then pairing it with the Green Peak stove, this combination together is under $50. You get a really effective, really efficient cooking system at a very low price that is also very reliable and very durable. This Green Peak stove is about 20 bucks. Has a piezo igniter on it, and I've had 0 issues with the reliability of this stove. So it's just a great combination, and I think one of the best buys that you could get moving into 2025, but also what came out in 2024. Now, while the next piece of gear may not be the sexiest item that we talk about, I think it is one of the most important pieces of gear that we talk about today, and it has easily become and been one of my favorite backpacking gear items for going on almost 5 years at this point, and that is the Zoleo satellite communication device. I just love this thing, and my love for it was even more reinforced this year with the iPhone 16, at least me upgrading to the newest iPhone to now have satellite communication opportunity with my cell phone. And I was like, cool, now I've got both the Zoleo and my phone, and I was really looking forward to experiencing what the satellite communication is like on my iPhone. But I'll just say this with a quick story afterwards. I still think having a dedicated satellite communication device is way way important if you spend a considerable amount of time in the backcountry. Now, when I'm out in the field away from my wife and my kids, I really enjoy checking in with my wife to see how things are going at home and just have really simple conversations through text message over satellite to make sure that she's good and the kids are good, and just enjoying that opportunity of being able to actually communicate with each other when I am out of cell service. But the issue that I've had with the iPhone is the fact that this has to be off of airplane mode to connect to satellites, so it's going to use more battery in that case. And this is kind of silly, but my wife and I are huge Formula One, like moto racing fans, and she'd like to give me updates when I'm out in the field of the current race situation, and I got quite a few text messages all at once. Now, that's just the specific scenario here, but I put my phone back into airplane mode when I was texting her through the iPhone, and then she sent a bunch of text messages that said they will get delivered by satellite. And what happened is I never put my phone into the satellite connection again until the next time I went out. Then when I connected my phone to that satellite again, it had a queue of messages that were waiting to send by satellite, and they didn't send when I got back into Wi-Fi or normal cell service. And that's a problem for me because I had this queue of messages that had to be delivered before I could receive anything current. So that could be a problem if somebody is sending you a bunch of messages thinking, oh, you're just going to get them when you get cell service, and then you have an actual emergency situation or you need to communicate in a way, but you have this queue of messages that come and it takes up a huge amount of time and bandwidth and everything. That was pretty frustrating. That is not something that I have ever experienced with the Zoleo. The Zoleo has been massively reliable. It is just a very durable, good standalone device. It does more than just two-way messaging. It has the search and rescue SOS function on it, which obviously the iPhone has that as well, but I can pull weather reports with this. I can get up-to-date information on that forecast when I'm out in the field, and that is super, super helpful in making better decisions when I'm out there. But I can also text and message with medical professionals if I have something come up that is not necessarily an emergency, but I want to talk to a medical professional to get some information on how I might be able to deal with that. Zoleo provides that. I can also send private links to people to follow a breadcrumb trail of my track while I'm out in the field. I think if you spend a considerable amount of time out in the backcountry, out of cell service, having a dedicated satellite communication device is still relevant and still worth having. Now, my favorite base layer and sun hoodie that I've used this year in 2024 is the Outdoor Vitals Altitude Sun Hoodie. This is a long sleeve, hooded, very lightweight, 100% polyester sun hoodie that has been an amazing experience. I have had this on almost 100% of my trips, not every single one of my backpacking trips, but pretty close. And it's been through a lot, like some pretty severe bushwhacking and really, really hot days and some winter trips. This thing is just taken a beating and it's very durable, a great value at about $50. And I'm just impressed with the fit of it, how well it performs, how quick it dries. It's simply an amazing piece of gear that is simple in concept, simple in its application, but it provides a lot of value in giving me a good experience on the trail. I can bring that hood up and give me the protection on my neck and my ears and a little bit of my face from the sun and even some wind protection, the long sleeves. It's so nice to use a sun hoodie instead of having to lather yourself with a ton of sunscreen and get all sticky and gross and such. I like having the sun hoodie because it gives me that sun protection. It's lightweight, it dries quickly, and it's just, like I said, a really, really good value. I think the Altitude hoodie is an amazing piece of apparel that is definitely worth checking out. Now, my favorite category of gear in the backpacking space is tents. I love all of the different designs that you get with all the tents out there on the market, the way they perform, how they're designed to perform in different conditions and such. But the most enjoyable tent, my favorite tent of 2024 is this one here, the Hill Zero Gear Scout one-person camo version tent for a few specific reasons. I really enjoy freestanding tents because I spend a lot of time in the desert. It makes it really easy for me to set up on slick rock areas where you can't put stakes into the ground, and so I'm relying on rocks to be able to get everything set up and pitch correctly, where that doesn't allow for a non-freestanding tent to be used effectively and perform in high winds, rain, and such. So I really enjoy freestanding tents. And this one here, being fully freestanding, is a great size for one person. The interior space of it is really good at 37 inches wide, and it's like 85 inches long. So it's plenty big for somebody like me, being under 6 foot, to have enough space side to side, but also lengthwise for my gear inside of the tent. But it's also 2 doors and 2 vestibules. You've got 2 end vents for really good ventilation on the tent. And it's made from a lightweight nylon 6/6 fabric. The reason the nylon 6/6 is key is it's a much higher performance nylon fabric than your standard nylon 6. The reason for that is nylon 6/6 is less prone to taking on water and stretching and being that issue that people complain about a lot with nylon focused tents. But because it is nylon, it's also lower in price at retail $260, which I think makes this an amazing value. I think it's also important to share a lower price point piece of gear that is also really high performance. I've had this out in some pretty intense winds and crazy rains, and it has been fantastic. It is a really strong structure. The Unin 8.6 millimeter pole is a little bit thicker than you might get on other like super ultralight freestanding or semi-freestanding tents. It's just been a really, really enjoyable experience in the backcountry. Even though I've had the opportunity to use a lot of different tent options this year, this has been a standout for the value, the performance, and just being something I've enjoyed a lot. So the Hill Zero Gear Scout one-person camo tent. Now the last piece of gear we'll talk about today is not going to be a surprise to any of you, but that is the ZenBivy bed, both the ultralight bed and the light bed, because they are the 2 different models that I've used for my trips here in 2024. And simply put, the ZenBivy bed is amazing. It is very high performance. It is a really enjoyable sleep experience and super comfortable, plenty warm. It's just a very high quality product that does exactly what it's designed to do. Now, I'm very aware of the fact that I talk about the ZenBivy very frequently on my channel here, and periodically I get poo-pooed on in the comments of I'm just being paid to talk about this in a positive way, and that is just simply not true. I use this thing very frequently in the field. I have a lot of experience with it, and it is simply an amazing product. It just performs well. It's a very, very good design. It provides such a good sleep experience. With all of the components here, you have your ultralight mattress from ZenBivy, and then the sheet attachment to put onto the pad with the hood for your pillow to go into, the ZenBivy soft top pillow, and then your quilt that attaches to that. What it provides is draft elimination and a roomy space for you to move around and shift around through your sleeping at night. Like in my case, I am a side sleeper and I sleep on both sides, but I also tend to go onto my stomach sometimes and then on my back. And because you have such a wide and big open space in here, it truly feels like your bed at home. I don't find it twisting with me. I don't find it having any kind of weird draft issues. The way that the wing here on the side, it comes up into a pretty substantial amount of the quilt here, so you have all of this space that is below the clips that just eliminates drafts and creates a really, really good sleeping experience that way. Now the ultralight bed, I will fully accept the fact that this is an expensive piece of gear. Like over $600 for just the like sheet and the pillow and the quilt itself, and then add the mattress, another $200, which this is now available as a rectangular mattress. And I purchased this for my most recent trip, but I've been using the mummy version as well in most of my trips in 2024, and it's just been great. But if you're willing to carry a few extra ounces, then you can save a lot of money by going with the light bed. And it is more or less the exact same design, the difference being the outer fabrics of the bed here is a heavier weight denier, so 20 denier fabric as opposed to your 10 denier on the ultralight, and then you have a 800 fill power down as opposed to your Expedry 900 fill down. So this is the Expedry, like gold coated, super fancy, super expensive stuff. But then you have your Hyperdry 800 fill down in this. I know they are making some updates for the light bed and the ultralight bed in 2025. So maybe be on the lookout for those, because I think it has better differentiator of the light bed versus the ultralight bed that I think is going to be really cool for a lot of people. But genuinely, I have used the Zenbivy products for many nights out on the trail. Awesome sleep experience, really good value. I highly recommend it. And if you are cautious about the Zenbivy, find a way to use one. Find a way to borrow one from a friend, somebody, and just try it for yourself, because I think you would be surprised at how much you'll enjoy it. Now, the honorable mention piece of gear to wrap this up is a shameless plug for my favorite food bag, which is the Backcountry Exposure food bag. This is a bag that I sew and make myself and sell in my Etsy shop, and I love it. I've been using this design for several years at this point. It fits into a backpack really easy. I make it out of really high quality materials and a watertight zipper, and I think at a really good price point as well. I like having the zipper top opening as opposed to a roll top style bag, because it gives you very convenient access to your food in here, and it's not super deep down at the bottom of a black hole, and it is just a great bag. I love it. So if you want to check out the food bag that I make, I've got my Etsy shop link down in the description, as well as links for all of the items I've talked about today in this video. These are my absolute favorite pieces of gear, the items that have provided the best experience possible out on my trips. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Thanks for watching today. We'll catch you on the next one.